This is a brief guide of how to either service or repair the main drive cable on a dearson 8000 unit. Everybody's now running one of these. We've got rid of all the older units, but if you do happen to find an older unit, the system is just the same. The drive cable itself is serviceable. You can strip it and replace it, so they do every now and again snap. We carry spares of these and spares of the main drive cables that go within the rubber sheath, I think in the box at Crabtree, if not one at every clinic. Whether you're a key drive or a slot drive system, it's exactly the same, because the drive cable is itself slot drive, and you then have an adapter that goes on the end if you're running different hand pieces. But the actual adapter itself doesn't need anything doing to it. This is sealed, so don't pump grease into it. It just ends up running out over your arm, but leave these alone. If your drive cable snaps or you feel it getting really, really hot, strip it and see and re-grease it. To get the drive cable off, unthread the attachment to the motor unit. These can work loose by themselves over time, so just make sure periodically that you've actually got it nice and tight and nipped up nice and tight. Finger tight will do, but it will slowly work loose. You then find the sort of brass attachment that attaches the drive cable onto the motor. There is a small flathead screw which is countersunk into this, which you can then undo with the provided, and the kits all come with a screwdriver, the provided screwdriver. Loosen the grub screw, but don't take it all the way out, otherwise you'll lose it. And at that point, you can just simply pull the cable off the end of the motor. Having done that, the motor is now surplus requirement and can be got rid of. And at this point, the drive cable itself can simply be pulled in its entirety out of the sheath. This is a fairly new cable, so it's not too black, but they do want greasing periodically. The grease you want to use is the small toothpaste tube with the flexible shaft lubricant, which you can simply drizzle, if it comes out, which it won't, yeah. Drizzle it all the way along your drive cable, along the spring on the outside. If the cables snap, by and large the spring will remain intact, but the cable itself parts in the middle. You tend to get a little bit of warning when they're starting to go. It might sort of bind or do funny things on you for a few Dremel raspings, but then it will snap and nothing will spin. But having got a reasonable bit, but not loads of shaft lubricant, you can run it around using a pair of gloves. Just use your hands to run it around to make sure you've got a decent bit of grease all the way along the end of the cable. You don't need loads, just enough, otherwise you will end up absolutely filthy. And having done that, it's a bit of a fiddle, but you've then got to try and feed your drive cable back down the inside of the rubber tube and keep going until it pops out the end. At that point, you do what you've just done in reverse. So insert the brass end, keep my hands off slightly. Insert the brass end onto the motor. There's a flat spot on the motor housing which will only go one way into that brass head, and the grub screw goes against the flat spot. Having pressed that on, advance it all the way in, and there's then a small hole in the thread you can get your screwdriver into and nip the grub screw back up again. Again, just finger tight. Once you've screwed this back on, it's not suddenly going to fly off, so don't over tighten it. But then screw your cable back on. Again, just finger tight will do. And if you're running hand pieces that require no adapter, at that point you're done. If you need an adapter, poke it on the end, and at that point you're good to go.